You're listening to Barbell Logic, brought to you by Barbell Logic Online Coaching, where each week we take a systematic walk through strength training and the refining power of voluntary hardship. You're listening to the Barbell Logic podcast. I'm Matt Reynolds. I'm here with my co-host, Niki Sims.
Hello.
What's up?
Just excited about training, as usual.
Yeah, I just got done training. I did a phone call actually right before this, and I was sweating profusely because I just completed training. We're going to see each other tomorrow. We're flying to DC.
Where we'll definitely all be sweating because I think it's always 80% or above humidity there.
Yeah, it's toasty out there. There's lots of humidity. As Neat Dad says, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. That's right.
To plan all my outfits accordingly for all the sweat.
Oh my God, I'm so excited about... I got this awesome Neat Dad gift for Andrew. I'm going to talk about it on the next podcast. I can't talk about it now because I want you to be surprised too.
Oh my God, what is it?
Very hashtag Neat Dad.
It's not Dockers because I know you wouldn't spend money on Dockers.
It's not Dockers because I don't do pleated khakis. So there's a bigger picture piece that we're going to talk about in a future episode. We actually have a tease out a little bit. We've got a productivity series coming out here in another couple weeks. And we want to talk about places in our life where we recognize that maybe we don't have control of, and where we can better find control of some of those things. And I want to make sure, I want to speak about control in a positive light, not like in a how do you control other people. That's not what I'm talking about.
This is not a how-to on manipulation.
No. This is recognizing places in your life, your personal life, that are maybe a little bit out of control, and how you can recognize those things and start to take control of those. And for the purpose of this podcast, we actually want to be very practical and talk about how we take control of our daily routine to basically make it so that we have the most positive training experience. So it's really I look at my training, and I think you do too, as often as the highlight of my day. I lay out often, in spite of the other things that are probably potentially more important than training, I really enjoy training. And so even though I have to do urgent work for Barbell Logic, and I work on the business and not just in the business as the CEO, and I know you do the same thing as the Chief Experience Officer. Welcome to your fresh title as an actual C-suite member of the business.
Thank you.
Training makes up a big piece of that for me. And my primary training is just lifting. And it's interesting because you have both lifting, which is super important, and also BJJ, which is also super important to you. And so I want to talk through what those routines are and some of those rituals and habits that we get into. And there are things that I do, I think, and I think you do too, that are part of that routine or daily schedule that make us just feel like we're more prepared, or encourage me and make me feel better, and maybe don't necessarily, there's no way to sort of quantify how much they help.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's mentally preparing me for the job.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking about this too, even when you have everything right where you need it to be, you're compliant, your eating is on point, everything seems good, you can still go into the gym and just not have a great training day.
That's right. That's right.
So while I think it's actually incredibly important to have control over your routine to prioritize training, you still have to know when to let go a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's been easier for me to do that now that I'm not chasing numbers.
Yeah.
I still want to lift heavy, and I still, the focus of my training is still the big 4 barbell lifts. But if I have a day that doesn't go well, or something hurts, or I've had a weird kind of right shoulder pain that I've never had in my life on the anterior shoulder. I've had some posterior shoulder, right side infraspinatus pain since about 2005. So it's gone on a while. And now I'm starting to get a little bit of it's not bad, but it's enough that I can feel it on both press and bench press. And so I like to get a bunch of work done in a short period of time. It's more about density of training for me right now, getting in a bunch of work and hypertrophy and also the strength, all that kind of stuff. So we were talking off the air before we started this. You've turned me on to Marie Kondo, big Marie Kondo fan. We've mentioned her a couple times on the podcast.
Spark the joy.
It's so good. I've read both her main 2 books. And she mentions there's a story there where I think everybody could relate, which is, if you remember back what it was like to be in college or school or whatever, there were times where maybe you needed to study for a test, or you needed to write a paper, and you were procrastinating, but you didn't maybe necessarily feel like you were procrastinating because you weren't playing video games or doing ridiculous stuff. You would get all ready. I would do this all the time. I'd get all ready to write a paper, study for a test. And I'm like, ooh, my desk is messy.
Oh, time to clean my desk. Oh,
now I need to clean my office.
Empty the dishwasher and
That's right.
Good time to make the bed.
That's right. You clean kind of everything. And she makes this great point in the book where she's like, what's going on there probably subconsciously is that there's this thing that's sort of out of control. You should have studied even before this and you procrastinated and now you're, 12 hours, 10 hours from the test. And you need to do it, but rather than do it, you procrastinate further by doing positive things. Like you're like, I need control of something. So I'll take control of cleaning the dishes in my kitchen or making my bed or cleaning my office or whatever those things are. It's because of the lack of control or lack of self-control in one area that we often overcompensate in another area and try to take control over.
Yeah. And you get instant gratification like, well, that chore is done.
Yeah, look at that.
So you're trying to feel finished with something. And so you can't finish your paper or whatever work you're supposed to be doing. So you're like, well, I can finish this and I can see it in front of me. It's very visual completion. I feel happy.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're just in denial.
And the next thing you know, it's 2 a.m. and you're studying for the test for the 8 a.m. class. And you're like, I'm 6 hours out. So I think often for me, training, first off, I do want to be mindful of the fact that like my life right now is awesome. I'm just in a great place. Like I feel great. Family's great. Stress is low at work and other places. And you've known me for many, many years, probably almost a decade at this point. And that is not common. Mm-hmm. My life has been riddled with stress. And so I'm in a good place right now. But even when it's riddled with stress, one thing I can often do when my life feels out of control in any various places, I can take control of my training routine, my kind of pre-workout routine, my workout routine itself, even some post-workout stuff. Like there's things that I can do where I can sort of build my day around the training. I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I really still enjoy training. I love to train. We've talked about this before about people who training is kind of that spoonful of medicine. It's not for me. I don't think it is for you. I love to train. It's just fun to train. I feel good. I feel better afterwards. The sort of like dopamine hit that I get from training is good. And so often the thing that motivates me to do well that day from a schedule standpoint or from a productivity standpoint, often training is kind of the highlight of my day.
Yeah. It's how I know my day is done. It's what encourages me to finish my work. I only like to train when I'm done with work. Ooh. I don't love to train in the middle of work.
Yeah.
So it encourages me to finish my work sooner. It's nice to have stuff that's fun outside of work to, help you with your boundaries.
Yeah.
And then I just get to fully enjoy work. I don't have to look at my phone. I know that I'm done for the day work-wise. I can take my time if I want to. And then as soon as I'm done, I get to make dinner and relax. And it's definitely the highlight of my day.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting. I was thinking about, this is one of those places where I think that there are 3 primary times that you could train during the day. And there is the Niki Sims version, which is I get my work done first and then I train. I enjoy training. And then the rest of the day is sort of about relaxation and me time. There are people who train very first thing in the morning, which I think is also perfectly fine. That people are like, that is the most important thing in my life. Therefore, I'm going to do it first.
And I can relate to that. That's what I do for jiu-jitsu. Like that's right. I go at 6 a.m. So
super early in the morning.
There are 6 p.m.s, but that's not how I want to do it for that.
Right. And I haven't done this for the majority of my life, but I'm actually at a point right now where I actually train in the middle of that. So what I do is I train after the urgent work, but before the important work.
That's cool.
Part of that is just the natural rhythm of the day. I get up, as everybody knows, super early and I knock out the urgent work first. So I do all the online coaching and answer the emails and stuff that's sort of hanging over me. Because I'm like you, if things are hanging over me, I can't enjoy training. But the only thing I really worry about hanging over me is the urgent work. So it also gives me reason to focus and get the urgent work done. So, I get up almost always kind of between 4:30 and 5. If I don't set my alarm, I just kind of naturally wake up at that time.
Whether he wants to or not.
Whether I want to or not. And there's definitely times when I would rather sleep in and I just wake up and don't. I get that done. And then Rachel gets up usually between 7 and 7:15, somewhere in that ballpark. And we walk every morning at 7:30.
Love it.
And so she wakes up. She always texts me, good morning, ready to walk. When I get up in the morning early, the first thing I do is I kind of put on clothes that I can walk in. I put on my walking shoes, which are hideously ugly. You'd hate them. They're like the Asics black shoes, white soles, just like you like. They're your favorite black shoes, white soles. But they're great walking shoes. Put those on, get ready to walk. And the walk is for me is the transition from urgent work into like some me time,
Yeah.
quality time with my wife. And then that kind of starts the process of my pre-workout routine.
Yeah. Okay.
And and I'll talk about that here in a minute. And then after I train, which the perfect time for me right now to train is about 9 a.m. I train from like 9 to 10, rarely longer than an hour. You've watched me train like I hammer it at this point. Very short rest periods, get as much work in an hour as I can. By 10 o'clock, I'm done. And then I get to be kind of CEO, Matt, and work on the important stuff, get to work on the business and not in the business. And so it works well. So I was even thinking about this morning. I sent you a message early, probably your 4 a.m. your time. So this will come out on Monday. And I think I talked to Ness, our social media coordinator for Barbell Logic. I think she's going to push out on Wednesday some of our training routine, kind of some of this stuff.
And we'll be together next Monday training. So we'll do
That's
like
right.
a whole group of, yeah.
That's exactly right. So actually, two cool things are coming up this next week on Barbell Logic social media. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a camp weekend takeover. So again, we go to Washington, D.C. this week.
Oh, sweet.
So starting tomorrow, we're recording this on Thursday. This will come out on Monday. Starting tomorrow morning, I fly out super early, heading out to D.C. And I'm just going to do like what my weekend kind of looks like at a camp weekend and hanging out with you guys, renting a car, staying at the Airbnb, going out to eat, doing the camp. And so people can see kind of what those camp weekends look like, both for them and for what it looks like kind of behind the scenes for us. So that should be good. And then today I trained this morning in my typical at 9 a.m. this morning, and I took pictures of kind of everything, kind of chronicled what I do to prep. There's an interesting part of this. A lot of things I do for motivation or motivating factors that don't necessarily help with training, or at least can't be quantified. But for me, sort of.
Like what?
So, okay, I wrote some of this stuff down. This is an interesting, as I haven't even thought about a lot of this stuff, but I got really intentional about what I do to prep me for training, for a good training day. Okay.
Okay.
So I wake up before dawn. I never set an alarm, but I almost always wake up and it's dark, but it's almost first light, which right now in June, first light in Missouri is like almost straight up 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So I normally wake up like this morning. I think I woke up at 4:50, which is perfect. That's actually when I want to wake up. 4:10, I'm like, ugh, that's still too early, right? I need it to be closer to 5 than 4.
Yeah.
So I got up at 4:50. I go in the bathroom. I put in my contacts, go to the bathroom, put on my clothes, put on my walking clothes, go downstairs, make coffee, make an espresso in my espresso machine, make my bubbly water. And then the first thing I do is I open all the shades in the house and I start to let in the natural light because I love natural light.
Love it. That's super important. Yeah.
I do not work. This is something I've changed over the last 6 months. I do not work at the desk I'm talking at now. It's early in the morning and no one's awake. And I actually go and sit in my lazy boy recliner with my laptop and I do online coaching in my living room because my living room is just covered in windows.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
All this natural light. And I love kind of seeing or feeling out the first light and the sunrise, and it comes in on that side of the house. And so
vitamin D is very important.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing I do. And like I said, then I do urgent work from, 6 a.m. or so. A lot of times it's 5:30 or so before it takes me 30, 40 minutes. I've thought about this. I wake up and I'm pretty dang awake when I first wake up. You've been around me first thing in the morning before. And I'm just like, bing, and I'm awake. But I'm not working in the first 10 minutes I wake up. I sort of wake up and it takes me a while to put clothes on and brush my teeth and go down, put my contacts in, go downstairs, make some coffee.
So you don't just pop up in bed and answer your first check-in.
No, I don't do that. I don't do that. As I'm sure most people don't. So that's the first thing I do. I hammer most of my urgent work. I try to get done between 6 and 7:30 in the morning before my first transition period.
And what happens on days when you can't do that for some reason? There's an early call, there's something that pops up. Like, what's your mood like that?
Well, there's two answers to that. One is I'm very protective of that time. So most of the time, there's some sort of emergency if that's the case.
Yeah. I
have blocked my schedule where you can't book calls with me. Dan Shell, my executive assistant, he knows that we don't book calls before training. Training's at 9. We don't book calls till 10. Occasionally I have to, but it kind of throws my day off.
Yeah.
So the first thing I have to do on it, if I can't train, everything's sort of built up to train in that mid-morning session. If I can't train in that 8:30 or 9 or 10 at the latest, then I have to sort of reschedule things to kind of reshuffle the whole day to still try to get there. So for you, you train in the gym in the mid to late afternoon. Is that right?
Yeah, typically, so 4 days out of the week, I go to jujitsu at 6 a.m. and then I'll do my urgent stuff and then kind of just flow through the day. And I'll have a point where it's just like, I need to take a break where, like you're probably training, I take a break where I shift gears from the urgent stuff and then move into my more important stuff where I can like get into a good flow state.
Wait, do you like do something between urgent and important? Do you like take a break? Do you go like walk around the neighborhood? Do you like go?
I do all my check-ins, then I take a long leisurely time making breakfast. I love my breakfast routine. So that helps me switch gears.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a little bit more of what feels like the more urgent stuff, like emails, whatever base camp notifications and stuff like that. And then sometimes I'll go take a walk. So there are breaks where I'm like not looking at screens.
Yep. Which is pretty important when all of your work is online.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then I'll train when everything's done. If there's anything left over that I didn't get to, I'll make a list of stuff that I have to do tomorrow so it's not hanging over my head.
Yeah.
And then it's gym time, different outfit. Like I'll wear gym clothes all day, or I'll wear like I'm wearing a dress today. I'll wear like my work clothes, and then I like make it really something different where it's just like, okay, It's training time now.
Yep.
The interesting thing that I was just noticing when we decided to talk about this and listening to you, when we talked about, okay, well, what are your lifting routines? I was like, well, how far back do we go? Like on Sunday night, I'm already thinking about what training is going to be like that next Saturday.
Oh,
Like I set up, like we are traveling this week. So I messaged my coach on Monday. I was like, listen, Friday and Saturday are shot now. Like, what do I have to do to rearrange things? And so I coordinate that with like, because I want to cram on my jujitsu in before I leave. So
yeah,
that's, I think newer lifters tend to think a little bit more about, well, what should post-workout recovery be like? What should I eat? What should I do afterwards? When really, I think more of the important stuff needs to happen
pre-workout
before your training session.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed. So similar. So you're getting in tomorrow evening to DC.
Yeah.
I booked a flight on purpose early in the morning. So when I land at like 11 a.m., I'm going to pick up my car and I'm going straight to a gym and I'm going to train.
Yeah, it's perfect.
We do this. Like, I think I've even said this on the podcast, so I should be somewhat embarrassed, but people know I am not a Globo Gym fan. I love training. Let me qualify that. I think in general, the vast majority of people should train at home most of the time. I think home training is great. You get the good equipment. You don't have to commute. You have to fight people for the squat racks. I just trained at home. I trained at home with my wife. We have a great time. That's another thing. I didn't even think about this, and I'll get here to the actual kind of really the last hour before training. But when I travel, I have started to enjoy going to really nice Globo gyms. We go to like Lifetime Fitness. We don't have any, obviously, no relationship with Lifetime Fitness. These things are like Taj Mahals of gyms. They have spas and they're incredible.
Like seating areas in random places. So many bathrooms. The bathrooms smell really good.
Yeah, protein drinks afterwards. And so I'm going to go all by myself and you and I will go train on like Monday, probably at the same place. But, I planned ahead. Here, I'm landing at Dulles.
Yeah.
Here's the Airbnb. Right between the airport and the Airbnb, there's a beautiful giant...
Always get on the map. As soon as I know the dates and where I'm going to be, Google Maps.
That's right. I'm going to do a badass leg workout tomorrow.
Yes.
I'm going to squat a little bit. I'm going to pull a little bit, but I'm mostly going to like do all the machines. I'm going to do leg press and leg extension and leg curls. And that's right. And like glute ham raises and all kinds of fun stuff. And then I'm going to go into the locker room and I'm going to hit the dry sauna and the steam sauna. And I'm going to do cold showers between. I'm just going to have a little me day. It's going to be great. I do the same thing. Kind of prepping for that. And I'm excited about it. I'll even wear like tomorrow on the plane. I'm like, there's a part of me where like, I kind of sometimes want to dress like, like Tanner would want me to dress, sort of like look the part of sort of CEO of a fitness business. But I'm like, I'm literally landing and going straight to the gym. So I'm going to wear gym clothes tomorrow. I'm going to wear my shorty shorts. I'm wearing my tight t-shirt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I am. That's what I'm doing. I'm wearing I'm going to do 3-inch inseam on the plane. 3-inch inseam on the plane. Yes.
See, that's what's nice when you're just constantly almost really too hot all the time. When you're freezing. It's
although,
give me the sweaters.
Pretty big difference going from 305 to 250.
Yeah, that's much
Losing
better.
55 pounds makes a pretty big difference on how hot I am all the time.
Lost a 55-pound blanket.
That's right. Okay, so on my normal days at 7:30, I walk with my wife. We walk around the neighborhood. This is a wonderful neighborhood to walk.
Mm-hmm. It is.
You've walked in before. It's a beautiful neighborhood. People
many nice lawns to look at.
Yeah, they take such pride in their lawns. And I get super like #neat dad while I'm walking around.
I went on a walk here after we were in Springfield, and I took all these pictures of lawns to send you, and I totally forgot to send them to you.
Oh,
So now
man. I'm super
I
excited.
have like lawn porn in my phone.
That's good. We'll fantasize over it this weekend. You can show me and Andrew, and we'll
Like, is this even real? I can't even tell if they're real lawns.
you stand in the corner while Andrew and I look at it. It'll be fine. So I love good lawn porn. Favorite Instagram is Dank Lawns. Dank Lawns. If you're not following, Dank Lawns are so good. Always showing nice stripes. So 7:30, I walk with Rachel, and we typically, our walks are between 20 and 25 minutes. It's about 1.2 miles. Like, we're humping it, but I don't think I've ever even said this on the podcast. I have always had, my feet hurt all the time.
Yeah.
My feet, I've got these like bony, narrow, I don't have fat on my fat pad on the heel of my foot. And so
Ouch.
anytime I get massages, massage therapists are like, boy, your feet are crunchy. It's like a bag of potato chips.
Oh, man.
It's really weird.
Jeez. That sounds really uncomfortable.
Yes, they hurt all the time. And I've got plantar fasciitis and all sorts of pain in my Achilles down at the base of my heel and stuff. So I've got to like warm up my feet. I usually tape my feet up before I go walking, because I'm such an athlete. And, go walking, put on my nice walking shoes, go walking with Rachel. Get back, 8 o'clock. I eat breakfast at 8 o'clock, pre-workout. So on non-workout days, I actually eat more real food. Jillian probably wouldn't like this, but I found a good routine here. I eat real foods, eggs, and maybe like yogurt and berries and stuff like that on days I don't train. I actually want something that digests pretty fast and relatively easily on days I train. So I have those Fairlife pre-made protein shakes I get from Sam's. Like, some of you guys get the Core Power ones. They're similar to that. It's like, got like 32 grams of protein, not a ton. I put a banana in it and some PB2 and a couple pieces of ice, and I make a protein shake.
Sounds really good.
And it's just, it's banana peanut butter protein shakes. Great. I have that pre-workout, and then I go upstairs and I take a shower oh, by the way, I was telling you, I got a funny story here. So I was like, hey, let's talk about our pre-workout routines, and we'll kind of take pictures of it. And we'll talk about our pre-workout routines. We'll take pictures of our different stuff.
Matt like listed all the things that he's gonna
Yeah. And in there was a shower, and you were like, yeah, you go ahead and have fun taking pictures of yourself in the shower. I'm probably not going to take pictures of myself in the shower. Okay, so this morning, I'm taking pictures of everything. I'm like, here's my espresso, here's my bubbly water, here's my natural light, here's me on a walk with my wife. I'm just trying to go through the whole thing. I take a shower, Rachel's downstairs. I get out of the shower. I'm like, I wonder if I could show that I'm like taking a shower and like still keep this like, above board.
Oh my God.
And so, I've got I don't know if you've seen my master shower, but it's got one of those like rainfall heads up top, and then it also like sprays you from the front of the wall. So it's like multiple all at the same time. And so I just got out of the shower, I got my towel, and I like take a picture basically from just like chest up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm buck ass naked. And the shower is behind me, so I'm trying to get pictures of like, the shower heads and the faucets and stuff. But I've got my phone sound turned on, so it's making the photo click sound, and Rachel walks in. She walks in, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Look, I'll show you the pictures. They're appropriate." She's like, "What are you taking pictures for?" I was like,
"Don't worry, honey. This is for work.
It's for the podcast. I'm taking pictures of myself." I was like, "These are appropriate, right?" That there was a little bit of that. As I get leaner, I get that real good, like that line. Where, at the like between your obliques and like your bladder, the V taper thing.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that. And she's like, it's a little too much. And I was like, okay. So those pictures probably won't make the feed. But, I was just trying to give people a good look at my day. So I take a shower. I always have to take a shower before I train. I don't want to train with like greasy face.
Does it cool you off?
So I take a hot shower, and then the last like maybe 2 minutes, I go ice ass cold and just go super cold. I think it's more just I like being clean and not greasy, which sounds crazy because you're working out and you're getting sweaty and greasy.
It's nice. I've done pre-training showers. It feels great.
Yeah. Always do pre and post shower every day. Yeah. I just don't like I don't know. There's something about the way you feel when you get out of bed. And, it's like brushing your teeth. Like the longer I wait to brush my teeth, I'm like, Gah. I need to brush my gross. You got film on your teeth. Like I got the film on my bald head. I gotta clean that off.
That crystal ball is a little too greasy.
By the way, I didn't even talk about this, but like, how much do you think about like the products you use in the shower? You think about that?
Nope. Well, I have a special shampoo. Okay.
I use Dr. Bronner's peppermint.
I use that too.
Castile soap, and I use a legit, like a real natural loofah, which are like a real scrubby loofah.
And how does this help your training?
Because it scrubs the skin and it like brings blood flow. It probably doesn't, but I feel like it does. I give a real vigorous scrub. I'm doing a super vigorous scrub pre-workout.
I'm just going to take a second to laugh at how we're 26 minutes into a podcast and
we haven't got to the
made
workout
it
yet. Hey, man.
Matt's pre-training shower.
I'm very intentional about this. Pre-workout shower, cold last 2 minutes, very scrubby loofah. Get out of the shower. Always lay out my workout clothes. Like same thing. Doesn't matter what I put on pre-workout.
Like the first day of school.
Lay it out. Like, here's what I'm wearing today. And I think about the lifts I'm going to do that day. And I'm like, this is a good bench shirt.
Yep.
This is a good squat shirt or whatever. Lay that stuff out. What kind of underwear do I want? What kind of socks do I want? Don't want shorty shorts. Don't want extra shorty shorts because that's all I own.
So do you not wear the extra shorty shorts on bench days?
I only wear the extra shorty shorts on bench days. I don't wear them on deadlift days because I don't want the bar scraping up my thighs.
Ah, okay.
I usually, when I deadlift, I put on Under Armour compression shorts and then shorts on top of that, which might be shorty short, but
yeah,
so that the bar kind of slides with the compression shorts. I think about all this stuff.
I can tell.
I don't know what to tell you, man. It's important.
I know.
It's important to me. It's important to me. So that's my pre-workout routine. And then I train. All right, stop. So are there any other things that you do pre-training, similar or different? First off, let me start here. You don't have much time pre-BJJ. What are you doing between the time you wake up out of bed and the time you're driving to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
So I tend to wake up before my alarm around 5, and then my alarm goes off quarter after 5.
Okay.
And so I'll like put contacts in, brush my hair, get my hair ready to just be yanked out anyway. And my breakfast is a half a banana with some almond butter, just kind of put a little bit on ibuprofen, pre-workout and creatine. And that's my pre-jiu-jitsu meal.
Okay.
And during that time, I'll just kind of catch up on some notifications or not, depending on how stressed out I want to get.
Sometimes you do. You do a little work sometimes.
Yeah. And I never like it when I do that.
Right.
Because I have to say a message and then leave for an hour and a half. So I don't like to do that.
Right.
And then I'll lacrosse ball my back because I am always tight and I just have to anticipate that. So yeah, it's really just like getting all my layers of clothing on, getting a little snack, rolling out a little bit, getting hydrated, and then
in the car,
my 2-minute drive to the gym.
Okay.
And so that gets me set there. And then when I get home, it's like shower, coffee. It takes me a long time.
So you don't do coffee pre-BJJ?
No, just the pre-workout.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't like to have coffee breath.
Oh yeah, which is still caffeine.
I'm very
stuff.
mindful of how I'm going to be breathing in someone else's face.
Rolling with somebody, right?
Yeah, and then it takes me some time to like mentally shift gears from jiu-jitsu brain to work brain.
Sure.
So it's the longer shower, making coffee, check-ins, and then I go my leisurely breakfast. So like, by the time I'm getting to the important work, you're like done for the day.
Right.
No, we're over here on Pacific time.
With you guys being on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's funny.
So it's always, I need you guys to move East Coast and get an hour ahead of me instead of 2 hours behind me. So my pre-workout too, like you were talking about pre-workout, I probably seen this to me. I drink about 5 to 6 ounces of unsweetened cranberry juice. So it's not sweet cranberry juice. And I put creatine and beta alanine in there.
Oh, nice.
And I have that with my workout, with my shake. And so I drink the shake and then have and it's usually that.
That sounds yummy.
And a little Cialis because it's great for pre-workout. It's a vasodilator. So, and there's extra benefits.
Not sponsored, but please.
Not sponsored by Cialis. That would be great. So yeah, I do that too. And yeah, to take my shower and get ready and go train.
Then on my lifting days, my meals are pretty much the same whenever on every day. But on lifting days, I'll usually have oatmeal, whereas I won't have those on non-lifting days. But, you
have the oatmeal pre-training, not breakfast, but you'll have it like
at least 2 hours before. I don't like to eat with oatmeal within 2 hours of training because that just means that it's going to be on top of my belt and
still in your belly.
It's awful. So that's one consideration that I'll have, like, is what I'm going to eat if I have to eat really soon or really close to training. That's when the banana and almond butter works really well. Something that's not going to take up a lot of real estate there in the old tummy.
Yes. Right.
But that's one thing that's different.
That makes sense. It's the reason I do the shakes because I walk at 7:30, I'm back at 8 o'clock and I'm training at 9. And so if I ate at 8 a.m., I would have to cook eggs and yogurt and stuff, and it digests just slower, which is what you want most of the time. But I don't want it pre-workout because I don't want it in my belly. So I'm the same way. I don't want food on my belly.
Yeah.
Whereas if I have a shake, because it's liquid and the banana, and I don't put any fat in it, I switch to the PB2 from peanut butter because I actually don't want the fat in it because I don't want it to slow down the digestion. I want it to digest fast and be kind of ready to be used because I can eat right after training too. Like it's not like, it's not like I'm not going to eat for 4 hours. I can do some post-workout stuff too. I'll tend to have that shake. Whereas on those days I don't train, it's a lot of times it's overnight oats or it's eggs and yogurt, one of the two.
So yeah, it seems like a good takeaway from this so far is have a pretty good idea of when you're going to train,
Yes.
what time of the day that's going to be. Think about how you want to feel during that training session.
That's right.
Like you talked about, like what outfits you wear. Like I think about that too. Like, am I going to be squatting? Am I going to be deadlifting? Do I want long pants on? Am I going to be benching? I want to be sticking to the bench. Like think about how you want to feel during your training session, mindset wise, and then physically. Like clear out what you need to for your mindset so that when you're in the gym, you can actually totally show up to train mentally. That means like, are there any conversations you need to have? Is there anything that you need to schedule before you go into the gym? Because if you don't have a place when you know that stuff's going to get done, it's going to distract you or it's going to pop up in training session and it's going to kind of get in the way. And then, physically, like you don't want to be bloated. You don't want to be like overhydrated, like having to pee all the time. Like you don't want to be like just really caffeinated and not fed. So you're just shaky, but it's not like useful caffeination.
That's right.
Yeah. And then like work backwards, like giving yourself, I think 90 minutes, you want to have a buffer where you're like not really adding much more than water.
That's right.
Or pre-workout for 90 minutes and kind of work backwards from there.
Agreed. I have not for years, I have not taken pre-workout. I'm not a huge fan. Two things. I think I'm more sensitive than you would think I am to caffeine. I don't drink tea. I don't drink soda. So I only drink coffee. And I typically have 2 espressos in the morning. I usually turn them into Americanos. If I don't want the extra liquid, I just make an espresso. So sometimes I'll have an espresso kind of right before I train or 10 minutes or so before I train. But it's just, it's like 2 ounces of that. And so it hits pretty quick and pretty hard. And it doesn't fill up your belly if I feel like I need a little more caffeine. Or if I can't train at 9 and my training gets pushed back to 10 or 10:30 or something a little later than I want, then I'll almost always have an espresso. And on the weird days that I have to train mid-afternoon, I always have espresso before I train. But espresso is kind of enough. The combination of espresso, creatine, and I love beta-alanine. If you haven't used it before, it kind of makes you tingly on your skin. If you're not used to it, you got to start it kind of low and slow, but I like that for pre-workout. I've gotten away from like the super intense. And then the other thing is I think my stomach is really sensitive. So pre-workout a lot of times just screws my belly up.
Gives me more SUI.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
So I've just stopped taking it for lifting when I just set myself up as best as I can otherwise.
Now, I took one not too long ago. The brand was First Form. And the only reason I'm going to say that is because the owner of First Form has been a buddy of mine for years. And so certainly we don't have any relationship with them. They made one that didn't have any stimulants in it. So it was like that. I think it was like a creatine, beta-alanine, sort of like vasodilator and kind of a combo. Didn't seem to tear my stomach up. So I think it's like the intense
C4 explosion, tiger's blood.
Yeah, it's just it's like crack. It's like here's a cup of crack you can drink before you work out. So I don't like that. So what about the actual in the workout? As I was thinking about in the workout, so one thing is my gym has got to be perfectly clean before I start.
Yeah.
Which it pretty much is anyway. But if there's anything out of place, this morning there was like, I don't know, somebody had opened up a piece of mail or something. There was like a little piece of paper on the floor. I looked at it for like 6 minutes.
Unacceptable.
And I was like, Rachel, give me that. She's like, What is it? I was like, I don't know, but it's driving me insane. I've looked at it now for the last 6 minutes. And I don't know why I didn't pick it up earlier. So I want my gym really clean and really organized. I don't want to feel like I'm stepping over stuff on the platform. Just kind of a place for everything and everything is place. It's important to me. And then music, people have given me a hard time for years because there's the same couple songs that are playing when I train, but it's about familiarity for me.
Yeah.
So we do listen to different music often in the gym, but when it comes time for the heavy sets or the PR sets, I always go to something familiar. And it's not about I don't get jacked up before a lift. I'm not like, rah, and it's not like slap me in the face or, hit me in the back of the neck or whatever. It's the opposite. It's
getting focused.
I'm very focused, very focused.
Yeah.
Even with ammonia, I like ammonia caps instead of smelling salts or 2 smelling salts I've used before. They're just too strong for training. Ammonia caps focus me. So same thing. Like I'll smell an ammonia cap and I'll be like, okay, here we go. Not like, I'm not like in a fit of rage. And so,
yeah.
So there's routine there as well. Rachel and I have a good routine of like loading weights. We have one side of the gym is a little more cramped than the other. And you would think that I would make her load that because she's smaller than me, but
such a gentleman.
It's harder to load the weight on that side. And so I load the weight on the left side. She loads the weight on the right side. The rack is the 4-foot deep rack. So she's usually training in the rack and I'm training outside the rack. And so we both do a set, and then I say, what do you need? She's like, I need a 10. She's like, what do you need? I'm like, I need a 25 or 45. And so we put that on. Here we go. Then I go, then she goes, then we do the same thing. So we've got even this like cadence of lifting and loading weights for each other on each side. And it's got a pretty good rhythm to it all.
I dig that. One schedule thing, I don't love to have an event immediately like within my training time. Like, let's say I'm done with work at 4. The soonest I would want something on the schedule after that would be 7.
Right.
Because like, I don't like that anticipation of someone waiting on me.
Right.
This is why I'm still single. Because dates are inconvenient.
No, it's good.
That's important for me, just so I'll make sure I respect that. Music-wise, I've noticed like there are times when you have like a big lift, you're just like, oh, it's a heavy triple, and like you wish you were more intense. And so sometimes I'll put on music to kind of get me to that point. It just makes the discrepancy even worse.
Right.
So I find I have to like be aware of that and like make the music kind of match my mood.
Yep.
In a special way. So it's like I have those songs too where it's just like, this is familiar. This is my intense deadlift song. But some days I'll put it on just like I am not in that zone. And if I put the music on, it just makes me feel further from it.
Right.
So I have to be kind of adaptable to that. That's why I like working out at my own gym. When I travel and go to Globo gyms, I actually don't listen to music. I don't have my headphones in because I feel like it sounds ridiculous, but I can't really connect with the environment.
Right.
So I actually I'm a serial killer and don't listen to headphones usually when I'm at the gym.
I always hated when I ran gyms. I hate it when people wore headphones because you can't be coached. And so typically if I go to a Globo gym, I'm with you guys, we're all coaching each other. So I'd never listen to music. Now, if I go, like when I go tomorrow by myself, I will probably put in my earbuds. I almost never listen to like intense music then. It's more of just like something that just kind of keeps me moving. Some of that is I actually, as social of an extrovert as I am, I do not want to interact with people at a gym.
Yeah.
At a Globo gym by myself. It's not about like not wanting to be recognized. I mean, listen, if somebody sees me at a Globo gym and they recognize me like, you're Matt Reynolds.
Oh, Matt's going to love that.
Please come up and say something. I love it. Please do. But, don't ask me to like, I don't know, critique your form or like, don't say anything about my form or like, I'm not interested in like having some chats. It's like being on an airplane, right? And we had this conversation with the staff this week. Like, I want to work on an airplane. So my earbuds are in on an airplane 100% of the time, and I'm listening to something on those earbuds about 2% of the time.
Right.
The earbuds are there to tell the person next to me, do not talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
These are in my ears. I can't hear you, even though I can hear them. And they start to talk, and I'm like, what? Can't.
Nor can I take them out. It's weird. They're just stuck in my ears.
That are currently, that's right. Because I got work to do. I can't tell you how many times a hostess have come up to me and said, boy, you've worked hard on this flight.
Wow.
They say that to me all the time. Because I'm just in a zone working. So, yeah. Yeah. So, I've got those routines too. So I love that routine. There's definitely, as we go through this, like we've been talking for 41 minutes about like pre-workout routine and workout routines and stuff. And I recognize that some people are going to listen to this and be like, that is so ridiculous and over the top. And you're exactly right. You're exactly right. But there is something motivating for me about doing those things. I recognize that like, taking a shower before you work out or cold water before you work out or like whatever, like none of those things probably can be proven to help. But for me, it puts me in the right state of mind to do the thing. And it also doesn't negatively affect the rest of the day. As a matter of fact, I would argue that it positively affects the rest of the day. And so doing those things, and, by the way, I was thinking about this and thinking about the podcast this morning before we recorded. There are definitely times when I am completely unprepared and I just have to walk into a gym and train. And for those of you who are listening, that's always better than not training.
Yeah.
There are times you're just like, you're pulling an Andrew Jackson in the jeans and the button-up shirt. And you're going business cash and you're walking in and doing the work. Like,
do something.
Do that. If it's that or not training, like you should train. But on those days that you're home and you're in your routine and your life's not nuts, I love getting up in the morning and thinking about like, this is what I'm going to do. Here's when I'm going to take my supplements. Here's when I'm going to take my pre-workout. Here's when I'm going to walk and when I'm going to shower, what I'm going to wear. Like all those things matter. And not because they actually probably dramatically affect your workout, but because they put me in the right state of mind. And so I do those things.
Yeah.
And then I do a lot of those like post-workout stuff too. Like I post-workout, we go to the pool in the summertime, almost every day post-workout. In the wintertime, I've got the hot tub. And so we go sit in the hot tub. And I do this thing that also sort of transitions me from intense training to like relaxation mode. And then I'll often post training, since I'm doing it in the middle of my work, I need to get myself in a place where I'm prepped to do the important work, the non-urgent, but important work. And I take that stuff seriously as well, like the post-workout nutrition, what am I going to eat? Also, I almost always change my clothes out of my workout clothes, back into work clothes. And nobody sees me. I'm working online. Maybe I don't have any phone calls or anything, but it's like, okay, that puts me in the right state of mind to go, okay, I'm dressed like the CEO, not like a guy who's at the gym, and go from there.
Yeah. One thing to add is we can take control of all these things. We can plan our day to a T, and you can still have a lifting session that is just awful.
Yep.
I still find it's good to control what you can control, but even when stuff goes wrong, don't start blaming things. Like, I know people can blame, oh, well, so-and-so didn't let me get to training, or I wasn't able to get this meal and now this is off because of that. Like, don't let the result of your training, even after all your carefully planned things, turn into like resentment that something didn't go well. Like you do this to set yourself up in a certain way, but training is pretty unpredictable. Like I've gotten hurt off of perfectly executed reps. I've had bad training days when I did everything I possibly could. I've had bad meets when I've done everything I possibly could. And that's still just part of the experience. So like, don't try and white knuckle that.
Had good training days when you're up till 2 a.m. drinking the night before. And you're like, I should have a terrible training day.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have great ones.
Yeah.
So it is unpredictable.
Don't put yourself in a position where you're just going to use that to make yourself disappointed when it doesn't go well.
Yep.
But still do your best to set it up, because there will be days when it doesn't go well. And that's just part of what it is.
I think one of the hardest things when you are actively competing in powerlifting, strength lifting, some sort of strength sport, is that you're constantly chasing numbers really every single session. You're often on like a 12-week program. You're trying to like peak at just the right time. And if you don't hit the numbers one day, you're like, now I'm behind a whole week. And it makes it very difficult to enjoy. You get to the point where actually like training for meets a lot of times to me wasn't that fun. It was just, you get to the point, like when it was going well, it was fun. And when you were struggling, you're like, man, I'm going to, or you'd have, especially if you had 4 or 5 workouts in a row that were bad, you're like, I'm falling behind. I'm trying to chase numbers. One of the things I like about my kind of retirement life of training is that, and while I still love to train heavy, on those days that I feel like I planned everything well, or even if I didn't and training just sucks, I can still have fun with training. I can still go in and go like, for my clients, I've told them this at Barbell Logic, I've trained for a long time. It's like, look, if I program you a weight to do sets and reps and it's just not there that day and you're just bonking, the first thing I want to do is just try to hit the tonnage. Back the weight off 10 or 15% and then bump up your sets or reps and kind of match the tonnage. Sometimes even that's not there. It's like, I don't have it. If that's the case, step 2 for me, just do a bro workout.
Yeah.
Just bro out. Just do a bunch of volume, lightweight, because you feel good doing that.
Yeah, it's good physical meditation.
Yep. A good blood pump, knock out sets of 12, go light, do a bunch of accessory work, and walk out and be like, yeah, I still got good work in. Anybody else would have quit.
Yeah. And then you still protect that space in your schedule, which is really important.
That's right. That's right. Which is one of the most frustrating things for me. And I see this out of my clients all the time. When you quit a workout early, you always regret it afterwards. But once you've quit it, right? So I have clients all the time who are like, man, I had this like first lift was not very good. And the second lift was even worse. And I just like, screw it, I'm done for the day. And then later they always post a comment like 8 hours later, like, I'm so disappointed in myself that I like bagged it. And you don't have to actually do what's prescribed every single time, especially if you feel like you're chasing numbers. But you go in there and you're just like, okay, it's not there today. I don't feel good. So instead, I'm just going to do a bunch of stuff that I like, that I enjoy. I'm going to get good work in. And it still can become this sort of almost this calming thing that says like, I still got good work done. I still accomplished something. Whereas I think maybe that's really what it comes down to. When you quit early,
right, you
feel like you accomplished nothing. You spend all this time, especially if you're like me and you do all this like pre-workout routine and do all this stuff and then it goes poor.
You've had a 48-hour pre-workout.
That's right. And you shut it down after 20 minutes and you're like, this sucks. I feel like crap today. Everything hurts. Then later you're like, I didn't get anything done. Whereas if instead you had done a bunch of, just get some more extra work in, lightweight, high reps, enjoy it. Do stuff that's fun, do movements that don't hurt, do movements that feel good. You get done, you're like, I still accomplished something.
I've definitely had those times. My advice, and you're totally right, that happens a lot, is ride that wave of frustration, throw a tantrum, but cut it off. 5 minutes, let yourself decide what you want to do after 5 minutes. Don't leave the gym. Don't unload the bar yet. Keep all your shit on. And then decide, what am I going to be glad I accomplished 4 hours from now. But it's okay to have that emotion.
That's right.
But then just put an end on it.
That's good. Oh, that's good. So there you go. So there's the ritual training. And, if you hadn't figured it out, this whole podcast is not just about training, right? Like that's the point. The point is there are things in life we can control. There's things we can't. And often when there's places in your life that feel like they're out of control, you have the ability to take control of this thing. You almost always do have control of what you do in the gym. And so for us, it's often very satisfying to me when the other parts of my life feel out of control to be able to take control in a place that I can, much like we did in college when we weren't studying for the test and we should have, and instead we cleaned the entire office or the bedroom or the dishes. You're like, look, I did a thing. You can do the same thing in the gym. It's probably better. It's very cathartic.
Yeah. And during those crazy times, whether it's like a long time of craziness in your life or just that day when it might feel selfish to train, it's okay to let yourself respect that time, even if it's just 20 minutes.
Yep. I love that about the culture that we have here. I've thought about this. We are, for all intents and purposes, a tech startup where everybody works their ass off a million hours a week.
Yeah.
And we love our jobs. And so we do it. But anytime that we're busy and we've got a big project going on and we need to hop on a call, if somebody's like, I'm training right now, it's been built into the culture that we respect that. And you're like, oh, I'm not going to.
Sacred space.
That's sort of like sacred time. That's right. We're not going to. So like, okay, when you're done training, let us know. We'll do a call afterwards. It's totally okay.
And we know we'll make better decisions after we're in that space anyway.
That's right. Like if you end a training session early to do a Zoom call.
Resentment city.
It's going to go bad. That's right. That's right. So there you go. So there's some ideas and we'd love to hear from you on how you do that. I think it's podcast@barbell-logic.com. You can always email us that. Or as we share this stuff over the next couple of days on social media, would love to hear some of your ideas of both pre-workout routines and mid-workout routines, post-workout routines. Should have some stuff in the Instagram stories on Barbell Logic from Niki and I think coming out Wednesday this coming week. So sometime midweek.
Watch Matt take a shower.
And you can actually see some of those things that we talked about on this show today. Yeah, we'll see. I'll ask my wife if she'll let me post the shower pics. Again, it's just waste stuff. It ain't that great. So I made sure not to dry off with the towel though. So I'm all drippy. And so it's just sexy as hell.
There we go. OnlyFans.
so there we go. So, hey, thanks for listening. We will catch you next Monday on the Barbell Logic podcast.
Thanks, everyone.
Talk to you soon.